Hello and welcome back for day 4 of the 7-day soul detox. I am Sarah Birchmeyer. I am the founder of Awakening House, the creator of Fierce Free and Aligned, Safe to Love, and this 7-day soul detox. I am passionate about helping women awaken to their divine feminine, unlock their mind from the constraints of the lies, and awaken their truth and embody their purpose and calling and become the powerful creator of the life that they feel called to create. Today is about amends and self-forgiveness. And amends is something that is very near and dear to my heart because part of my story is that I was pressed in the fire and faced with the challenge of forgiving someone who, by all world standards, could have been deemed unforgivable. The woman that got pregnant by my husband at the time when we were going through a very traumatic experience. Because of my addiction, I take all responsibility and accountability for it. However, the things that transpired after that, years after that, absolutely unnecessary, but I know the work that I teach and I do. And so on some level, I created it. And I believe that I created it to see my shadow in physical form and to learn how to forgive, accept, understand, coexist, and love this part of myself. This woman also set things up to where I had false allegations put against me and my children after I had been to treatment and to rehab. I was alienated and kept from my children for 16 months to made to look like I didn't want to have a relationship with them. And then they motioned because by now him and her are married. And they've motioned to adopt my kids. And because of the state of mind that I was in, I so desperately just wanted to be around my children in a state of not being able to speak up for myself. And this is why I'm so passionate about the work that I do in speaking our voice and speaking our truth. And another one of my traumas is I openly signed my rights over to this woman in an open adoption. Not ever standing up for myself that I was 2 years sober and more than able to take care of my children. Not only sober, but completely healed from all mental illnesses, released from doctors. So why? It's the pressure from this woman. She's very controlling and it's not even her, it's the things that I've always found myself doing in the relationship dynamic with my first husband, always doing things to try to earn his acceptance and validation, and what I did was never good enough. And in my mind at the time, I thought if I did this, maybe they'll finally accept me and then they'll give me my kids back and let me have a normal functioning relationship with my kids. But that never happened. It's always still, not yet. It's still always been under their thumb and their control, and they're right smack dab in the middle of me having a relationship and a connection with my children. I mean, I do have one. However, it is not the natural one that I should be having. And I have had to forgive this woman and myself 100,000 times. And some days it flares back up. But I'm so grateful for this work. I'm so grateful for truth. I'm so grateful for knowing who the fuck I am. And that I have the power right here and right now in this moment to tell this story as it played out with that energy of I'm still suffering because of this behind it, or to shift and tell the story the way that I'm creating it through my divinity, which is that I have 4 children with my first husband. Their names are Patience, Promise, Prosper, and Purpose. I had them in a time of addiction, addicted to prescription drugs, and dealing with postpartum depression so severely that I peed in a trash can at night because I sat in the corner of the room with the gun next to me and the TV on and snacks and juice because I was terrified to walk down the hall of my own home when I was home alone because I thought that ISIS was coming to kill me because I was a Christian. This was the state of mind that I was in when all of this happened. And that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I have a tattoo on the inside of my arm that says, "Have patience, I promise you will prosper for my purpose." My son's name is Purpose. Birthing him, I experienced the most traumatic experience of my life and stood on the journey of recovering, healing, truth, self-discovery. And since then, I have birthed Awakening House, where I am a purpose coach. I teach people how to heal from that deep trauma, reprogram the story, and birth the truth, the purpose. And in that, knowing that this woman, her side of the story, she grew up in a home with a stepmom who was very mean and abusive. So it's been her life mission to be a good stepmom. And she's going above and beyond doing that. And in the meantime, I get to choose what I say is the truth about my relationship with my children, the mother I am. I am a mother of Gaia. I am mother of the awakening of this earth. I'm the mother of my business. I'm the mother of all of the people that follow me and listen to the truth that I'm called to share. I'm saving our spiritual mind treatment for the end of this session today. So when it comes to making amends, I want to talk about the feeling that has to happen, because we can covert narcissistically make amends in form to people please and validation and to get the other person to be pleased with us, but not truly mean it in the heart. And when we mean it in the heart, we actually have that breakdown of that ego where we're like, oh, this doesn't feel good because I have to admit that I am wrong. I have to admit that I fucked up. I have to admit that I created this mess. That is a true amends. Is when you have that uncomfortable feeling inside because you are truly admitting that you've been powerless over all that you've created until this moment. And I'm sorry. And now I am going to do better. I didn't know what I didn't know. This is making amends to people. And that's great. All that will happen supernaturally, though, when you go in and you do that amends and self-forgiveness with yourself. I didn't realize how much anger and resentment I was holding towards myself until my limit and ability to people please had absolutely ran out. Because after the 16-month story, long story short, comes back, I end up signing my rights and I'm in ministry school, and I am doing ministry work and I'm doing good things. I'm not truly fully in alignment with my calling as a purpose coach and a spiritual psychology coach and a radical recovery self coach. And I'm doing this ministry work, and it's great. I love it. Lives are being changed. I traveled all over America, doing seminars and conferences and seeing so many healings and all of these things. But at the end of 2023, December 2023, I had experienced complete emotional burnt out. I could not feel my emotions. I was laughing when I should have been crying. I wasn't crying at all. I was just burnt out. I was disconnected from dogs and all of life. And it scared me. It got my attention. And at this same very time, I also found myself having COVID, being separate from my kids for Christmas because I had COVID, but still being forced to have to go to work at my part-time job. They tell me to just mask up, which by the way, I worked at a restaurant, and I'm like on day 3 of COVID and I'm at work, can't be around my kids. I'm emotionally burnt out. On top of actually my senses are completely burnt out because of the COVID. I'm away from my kids. I realize this bound up religious mindset I have about I have to make this or that right or wrong, and I stand for what's right, and all this is wrong. And it was just this. I was not happy. I wasn't being true and authentic to myself as someone who vibrates at the frequency of divinity and love and oneness. I want to help people in the work that I'm called to help them. I want to teach truth. I want to teach universal law. But not everybody's okay with me doing that. And I had spent such a life of chaos of just doing whatever I wanted and making everyone angry. I wanted people to be proud of me and be happy. But I was suffering. And I had to do the one thing, the only thing I knew to do, which was be the observer, allow the situation to be, and process the emotions. I laid at an altar service at church where the worship music was real, real loud and the Spirit of God was moving. And I laid on the floor and I cried and I screamed and I released this anger that was in the pit of my stomach. I told God that I was angry at him. I told him that he let me down. I told him all the things. And then God laughs and says, "We're one, Sarah. So as equally as you are mad at me, you are equally as mad at yourself." Release that sacred rage within. And I begin saying, I'm so fucking angry that I'm not with my kids. I'm angry that I'm not cooking my kids breakfast. I'm angry that I'm not in charge of their nutrition chart. I'm angry that I am not, tucking them in every night. I am not washing their clothes, all the things. I'm so fucking angry. And then it's somewhere along the releasing of just, rah, no one could hear me. And if they could, I've always been known for roaring and yelling and doing all kinds of weird things under the power of God. So nobody was noticing. But I turned to yelling, screaming, crying. I'm so fucking sorry that I didn't know better. I'm so sorry that I let you down. I'm so sorry that I didn't believe in you. I'm so sorry that I didn't show up for you. I'm so sorry that I kept sleeping with that man that I knew was perverted and disgusting. I'm so sorry that I gave myself willingly away to all those hundreds and hundreds of men before I knew who I was. And I just held myself in such love. Today's video is going to be a little bit longer, and I apologize, but this is really, really, really deep, really, 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 really important. Making this amends will be the counter figure that will turn the dial on your 0 point frequency and begin to turn it up. I have sacred rage sessions. I have sacred rage teachings. I have a course create program that I've created to help you move through that sacred rage and release it in a healthy way, being perfect, so held and nurtured in love with no judgment. Just hold that space for you to release, because everyone is fucking angry that we are living in this life and we don't know how to operate in it.
You just hold that.
So I want to ask you in your journaling time today, where do you need to make amends? Energetically, within yourself,
You just hold that.
and with other people around you. And this is coming through consciousness right now. Sources wanting me to say that if there's someone that you need to forgive, that maybe they passed away, or ask for forgiveness, whether you need to ask for forgiveness or forgive someone, you can do it energetically. If you feel like calling the person and having a real physical conversation, that's fine, great. If that feels good to you, that lights you up inside, then yes, do it. However, we can do it in our journaling time, in our prayer time, and in our mind. We can imagine the person standing in front of us. We can go back to the last conversation in our mind, and we can change the way the conversation went. We can choose to say this instead or that instead, and we can energetically move the energy within ourselves, making that amends, because it shows energetically that our consciousness has been changed, and then we understand that the dynamic of the way that conversation went was not beneficial to the highest good. And so when we make that decision, we move that energy upon universal law, and then our universal law plays into emotion, and before you know it, maybe the person has passed away and they can't actually, but maybe they can come to you. However, but if there's someone that you have amends that needs to be made, and maybe you haven't talked to them for 5 years, you go within your mind in your prayer and your journal time, and you write the amends out, and you imagine the scenario being different, the energy shifting. That person will randomly call you, or better than that, show up randomly right in front of you when you're at the grocery store out of nowhere. And it's because that energy has been alchemized into love, and now it's opened up space for connection and restoration and love to be had. So we have a module inside the Safe to Love, which is all about let's get naked. And in this, we break it all down. We talk about sex. We talk about the nasty, naughty, dirty secrets and things that have come up in your life, and why most of them, a lot of them, come in through past lives. I know for me that I was a what are those, saloon girl in a past life, and I sold my body for money. And so in this life, I have experienced a very negative, low vibration energy around sex. It is, I slept with, we'll just say, over 100 men by the time I was 22, most of them date rapes, because I slept with them far after being able to make a conscious decision from state of sobriety. Most of them strangers, men I never saw again, just different situations. And so when it comes to this area of forgiveness, so that I can experience love, joy, safe sexuality, and pleasure, and passion, and fulfillment, and joy, it's vital that I make amends with myself and my past, and you as well. And so I invite you to writing down, where are you ready to make amends? Where do you need to make amends? How are you going to go about doing it? What is your plan? Say yes to it, commit to it, and then take action. I hope you have a beautiful day. I can't wait to see you back here tomorrow for day 5. We'll be talking about releasing what no longer serves. We'll go more in depth of personal inventory. um it's been an honor being with you here today. Above all things, I hope you know that you are loved.